Welcome to this third tutorial on using Microsoft Power BI. So in the first two tutorials we got an overview of Microsoft Power BI, and we also got to create a simple report where we used a table of information and a couple of graphs. And what we really showed was the power behind Power BI in terms of being able to create interactive filtering by using our slices and by being able to use these interactive graphs, by being able to select a graph, for example, and see how the other tables and graphs automatically get filtered by this. Now, as we've seen, this is great. We can create a number of different visualizations within the Power BI interface in the cloud. However, if you want to go the next step and you want to start being able to create more powerful models and being able to have more control of your data, I would suggest that you would want to use the Power BI desktop. So if you go to the download, you can download the Power BI desktop. It will download onto your system and then just load it from there. So in terms of this tutorial, what we're going to do now is we're going to close the cloud and we're going to open up into the Microsoft Power BI desktop. So when you load the Power BI desktop, it'll open with a splash screen. And over here, for example, we can get data from different sources. We can review our recent sources of data and we can see what those are. Open up other reports we've already created within Power BI desktop. Also, we have the ability to go and see tutorial videos if you'd like to review those. We also have the forums, the Power BI blog, and again, as I said, different tutorials that we might want to work through. So this is really useful information that we might want to work with. For example, the Power BI blog is really useful. Power BI has been updated a lot at the present time, and I would suggest that you really keep up to date with some of the changes that they're doing. And in the blog, they will give us a monthly update of the different changes that they've created. Forums are always useful in terms of the fact of being able to get new answers to questions that we may have. And Microsoft seem to be very active within these forums, so we get a lot of great feedback. So I'd suggest that you have a chance to play with these. Okay, so I'm just going to now close this, and then we're just going to change our screen size over here just so that we can fit it. Okay, so we just readjusted our screen size so it now fits nicely within our recording area. So what you can see here is quite a similar looking interface to what we saw on the cloud. We can see on the right hand side here we've got our different visualizations, different fields that we were working with. However, at the top here you'll see that we've got a Microsoft Office ribbon that looks quite familiar to a sort of Excel ribbon that we can use. Also on the left hand side you'll see that there's different options that we can use here that give us a lot more power that we can use within the Power BI desktop. So firstly we've got our different data that we can work with. We've also got relationships we can create. This we'll be looking at in a future tutorial. And this is a report that we create. So in here you can see we don't have the ability to sort of create our dashboards. That's done up on the cloud. However, here we rather create our reports and then we upload the information through the publish button over here to be able to create our dashboards. So our first set is to actually get our data. So we can use the get data option over here. And I'm just going to load the same data source as we used last time. Okay, so I've just selected the same data source as we used last time, the Excel file. And as you can see now, it is now busy navigating to that file. And the first part that you will see come up here is the navigator. Now, those of you who have used Power Query before will see that this is very familiar. So the navigator allows us to select either a sheet of data or a table of data. So in this case, both of these are the same. It's a table that's on a sheet. So I'm just going to click Data 1 over here, and it will give me a preview of the data that is now in this table. So over here, we get the ability to actually edit this data before we bring it in. Again, we're going to look at this in a future tutorial. So I'm just going to show you that we have our data that we've loaded previously. So I'm just going to load this data now. And as you can see now, the loading data to the model starts to occur and we start to download the data that we've got. And this is brought into the Power BI desktop modeling tool. Okay, so it's loaded the data now and we get on our field side over here, we get a list of the data, we got the list of the fields. So we can do pretty much exactly the same as what we did in the cloud. So we can start off, for example, we could use our manufacturer. I could drag that on here. And you'll see it will do the same as what we did with the cloud. We now have our values over here. We have our ability to format. And we're going to drag our sales as well onto there. So we have our manufacturer and our sales. And there we got the same report that we created up on the cloud. Okay, so we've got our manufacturer and sales over here. So again, just like we created on the cloud, we might want to create a slicer, which in the cloud we use the product category. So I'm going to use the product category again, just drag that on here. Now to change it from a table, we changed it from a table visualization to a slicer. So we're going to do that again. And remember, we could then filter this according to our slicer to show the sales by manufacturer for each of our different product categories. We're going to just click on this if we want to clear that. Okay, also to show you on the cloud, what we did was we created a column chart that showed us our profit by channel. So again, I'm going to pull my channel on here. I've got 4 different channels and my profit. So my profit, I'm just going to pull up to my values, and you can see this works exactly the same as it did on the cloud. Remember over here, we wanted to change our method of aggregation for our profit. So we're just going to say sum this. So we now got our profit by channel. Now we wanted to change this to a column chart. So we're going to use the clustered column. Okay, so you can see there now we have our profit by channel. And again, if we wanted to format this and we wanted to say have data labels on, we can just turn on our data labels and we have our data labels. Okay, the last report we had was our sum of profit by our product subcategory. So again, I'm just going to drag this onto here. I'm going to drag my profit also onto here. Again, we're going to sum up our profit. You can see, okay, it's already summed, which is great. Okay, so we've got our sum of profit by our different product subcategories. And let's say we want to create this as a stacked bar. Okay, there we got our different product subcategories. So let's make this easier. We're just going to look at our computers. And if you remember, we had the interactive filtering that we could use as well. So if I wanted to see laptop sales, now we could see what the laptop sales were for each of our manufacturers and for each of our channels. Okay, so in this tutorial, we've shown how we can load up the Power BI desktop. We've loaded our sales data into the Power BI. And we created an interactive report showing us a table with manufacturer's sales, our profit by channel and profit by product subcategory. And we've shown how by slicing this data and using interactive slicing, we can actually now get new information. So this concludes this lesson.